So I am Andrea Ali and I am an actress. I was an introverted child. I was very introverted and I kept myself to myself in school, in primary school. And it was one of my teachers. So she was a fan of my older sister who went to the school. So she loved my sister so much that she loved me kind of by default. So she was in charge of the end of year 6 play. And just to kind of get me to come out of my shell, she essentially forced me to be a part of it. So she forced me to audition and I was like, no, I don't want to do this. I was like, I barely talk to people. How do you expect me to stand up on stage and kind of like project? And she was like, just do the audition. She was like, I'm not going to cast you anyway. It's just, I just want you to do it. So I went home, I had the script and I learnt the lines, came back, did the audition, and I thought this was really easy. This was really fun. And then the next day when she was announcing the cast, she was like, oh, you're going to be the lead as Lady Macbeth. And I was like, you told me I wasn't going to be in it. And she was like, you were amazing, you have to do it. So essentially I did the play and I loved it. And I felt like if I can do this and get paid for it, why wouldn't I? So then I decided from then to do performing arts. And then I got my first agent at 16, and that's nearly 10 years now. And yeah, so I've been on the journey ever since. Honestly speaking, it has been quite difficult in the industry as a female. In particular, I found as a black female in the UK, it's been difficult as we don't get as many roles that focus on being the lead. And we don't often have our stories told, or we don't often see the representation of us in other films or in the media or in TV series. And so it feels super competitive. Acting is competitive as a whole anyway, but it feels even more competitive because I'm kind of going up against roles that I really want, but I'm going up against them with my friends, people that I'm friends with, and we're cool, and it feels like we're always having to fight for this one role, when really and truly there should be a lot more roles to accommodate for as many of us as possible. So it's been difficult in terms of not really having many role models from the UK. So we tend to have to look to the US, but then we feel like, or I feel like, there's so many stories to be told in the UK for us, and there's so much room for a better representation of us in the media. So it's exciting at the same time because we know we've still got room to grow, but it has been really hard. I won't lie, it has been really hard. Yeah. Some of the highlights of my career, I would say, would have to be some of the things I've auditioned for. You never imagine that you'd be in the room auditioning for roles or for films and TVs that you grew up watching, or that you see, or that you know that celebrities that you kind of look up to have been a part of before. And it's mind-blowing just being in the room, whether or not you book the role. Just being in the room alone kind of, it makes it feel real. I know that sounds really weird because as an actor, you are supposed to believe in yourself and believe that you're going to make it, but there are often times where you feel like, is this for me, is this not for me? But when you're in the room, it blows your mind. Like, it makes you feel like everything is really kind of falling into place and coming to pass. So I would definitely say that's a highlight. Another highlight I would say would be meeting other actors along the way, and discovering that everybody's on the same journey, everybody's on the same path. There are people who find things equally just as hard as you, and then people that find things equally just as easy as you do as well. So having that community of other actors and knowing that you're not alone in the industry is such a wonderful thing. Yeah, dealing with the quiet periods, I feel like, is something I'm still dealing with, and I don't think you ever really find a comfortable way to deal with that, if that makes sense, because you're not supposed to be comfortable in the quiet periods, because that's when you kind of relax a little bit too much. So you have to, I DM people all the time, always trying to find the next opportunity, always trying to kind of submit myself for roles or go to events or watch films. I watch a lot of films, Netflix, series. I rewatch stuff as well. I kind of go over stuff, or I look for scripts online, just things to almost remind yourself that you are an actor. Remind yourself that just because nothing's happening in that moment, it doesn't mean that it's not going to happen for you. It just means that that's the downtime that I believe that God kind of wants you to really work on your craft and develop yourself as an actor and as a true artist, and just find new things about you so that when the next project comes, you've got something new to bring to the table. Or when you meet someone new, you've got something new to bring to conversation. And it's those things that I feel like can really help you get ahead when it comes to booking jobs. A lot of us aren't necessarily fortunate in the sense that we don't have a CV full of a body of work, or we may not have booked that lead role that we're waiting to come. But if you can hold great conversation, and if there's a lot about you because you work on yourself in those quiet periods, that's what draws people into you, and then they remember you. So if they're doing a project, they're more likely to kind of message you and be like, oh, remember the conversation we had? Yes, so I remember right, come down, I've got casting for you, I've got a friend that I want you to meet. And so in the quiet periods, I definitely say staying as busy as possible. Gym helps as well. Food is comforting. Food is very comforting. Yeah, I'm trying to cut that back, but yeah. Shooting Pride of Lions was hands down, and not just because I know Remy personally and I know the cast, it was one of the most amazing experiences of my career so far. I was actually put in touch with Remy through another friend of mine. His name is Ola, so he runs LaVille TV, and he put me in contact with Remy for the lead role. So I didn't really have to audition for it. It just kind of was like, hey, this is what we want you to do. And I felt like, oh, this is a lot of pressure, because I'd wanted to work with Remy for a long time before then. And we initially did the meet-up where we had the read of the script for the first time and met the other cast members. And just being in the room full of other actors, and I'm like, I've seen your work. Or we went to the same drama school, and I've always kind of wanted to do something with you. And now I'm in the moment where we're all doing this. Was incredible, to say the least. The chemistry was there with all of us. It wasn't... I feel like we all shared the same passion to want to have Remy's story told. And the story hit home for a lot of us, because again, we all kind of identified that there weren't many stories surrounding brotherhood when it comes to black men, and when it comes to really showing the love that they had between them. And obviously CJ's character playing Ryan and sharing with his brothers that he was going to be a father, and going through the difficulties of saying, you know, I didn't have my father around, so I don't know how I'm going to do this. And they were like, well, you've got us and you've got a brotherhood. And I think it touched all of us, because we were like, that's what we want to see pushed more on TV. And I think similarly for the girls, we had this kind of, there were these kind of catty moments between us, but there was still that sisterhood, there was still that love. And I think we all appreciated that the story was told from another perspective that felt so relatable to all of us in one way, shape or form. And yeah, then seeing it do so well in terms of numbers on YouTube after was just, even till now, it's just, yeah, it's great. I'm grateful to Remy, I'm grateful to everybody on the cast for making it such a wonderful, honestly, it's such a great project to do. I prepared initially by just going over the script. So we were sent the entire script, but we had it split into two. So there was the Pack of Wolves script, and then there was the Pride of Lions. So initially I only read the Pride of Lions because I didn't want to know what they were doing. I was like, let's focus on this part. So I read the Pride of Lions script. I went over everybody else's lines as well, because when I get a script, I tend to not focus on just my character. I like to focus on other characters as well, just to see how they all tie together, to see how we all relate, what the relationships are. It was centered around a relationship as well. So I felt like I had to go there. Every actor has to go there. You have a role where you have to go there. I had to go there. And I had to really put myself in Nicole's position. I had to put myself in her shoes, and I had to imagine what she really must have been going through with Ryan and the whole pregnancy, and not being sure about her future, but knowing that, okay, she's got her friends who support her, she's got a partner who she knows she is loving and who's going to be there for her. And yeah, I think being on set and going over lines with CJ and going over lines with the rest of the cast, they were honestly just truly so phenomenal, such phenomenal actors, that it felt like everybody, anything that they did and the lines that we did and just being around each other, they brought that to life. They brought the energy in the room even before the cameras were rolling. So when Remy was ready to go, it was just in us. So it just felt like it was just so fluid getting into it. And obviously having worked with CJ and him being such an amazing scene partner, it made it so much easier for me to kind of get to that place of feeling the emotions and everything being so subtle and not being overdone. And I really felt like I wanted to do the character justice for other girls who may have been feeling the same thing. I really wanted them to feel like it was believable and not that it was put on. And I haven't been in that situation in real life myself, but I feel like your job as an actor is to really find a place within you that you can go to so that somebody else can look at you and feel like, I'm happy you told the story in that way. You know, I'm happy that you made it as realistic as possible for me, so I can look at that back now and I can think, yeah. I don't know, it's a weird one, but yeah, I would say that's how I prepared for it. Working with CJ Beckford was fantastic. And again, because he's just such a wonderful actor and he made it so easy for me to be vulnerable on camera, because again, it was such a delicate story that I felt like it needed to be told in the right way. And I felt like that would only happen and it could only happen if the chemistry was there. And that was the first time I'd ever worked with him. And that was the first time I'd ever really kind of spoken to him properly. And to have it just fit so naturally, I was really grateful. I was really, really grateful to him because he just made it easy for me to feel all the things I was supposed to feel in the scenes, and then outside of the scene as well, the conversations that we had surrounding our characters and what we felt like we were going through. So we'd be like, okay, Ryan, what are you going through? Like, we talk to each other like, Ryan, what are you going through? And Nicole, how's this going? And we'd all joke around on set as if we really were the characters. So when the cameras came on, it was easy to just go straight into. So he was really fantastic. I'm eternally grateful to him because he made it a great experience for me as an actress, and doing my first short film and having my first lead as well. I felt extremely comfortable doing it. So yeah, I'm very, very grateful to him, very grateful. Okay, so Still is about a married couple who are dealing with the loss of their son. And they lost their son at a young age, so their baby drowned. And Still explores loss. It explores couples who are grieving, and not necessarily in the most conventional way. So not necessarily in the way that we would see where it's explosive and it's this argument. It really goes through the emotions and it follows them through. And as it's a short, you don't really get the complete end or the complete beginning of the story, but what you do get is powerful enough, and it's just raw emotion. And again, I got to work with CJ because the chemistry just works on camera, so we were like, okay. And when we had a moment before we filmed, when we were rehearsing, we did this thing where we stood in character and we were talking to each other genuinely as if we were experiencing this, and emotions were so high, and I remember crying, and I remember feeling like this is real stuff, because we'd gone from being Nicole and Ryan who were experiencing a pregnancy together, and it ended on like a high note and it was happy, and like they found out they were having twins and it was all great, to we're now Belle and Jackson and Still, but we're experiencing the flip side of it. So we've had the child and we lived the life and we're married, but we're now experiencing grief. So I'm looking at him, but I'm still feeling the same emotions that I felt from Pride and Pack because the chemistry was already there. So I really was allowed to go on that journey with him. And again, Pride and Pack was filmed in 2017 and Still we filmed at the end of 2018. So there'd been a year in between, but it had felt like it was just a continuation of that story, which I felt was incredibly beautiful. It was so beautiful. And again, it allowed us to fully be able to explore the emotions in its entirety of what a couple might be feeling if that's what they went through, and making sure that we were as honest with our characters as we could be, because again, we wanted to do it justice for people who would watch it and feel like this is real life, this is what I went through, and it wasn't something to be taken lightly at all. So it was definitely one of the most emotional things I've done on camera, and I haven't watched it back yet, so I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what it looks like. I just know there are tears, and there's rage, and there's shouting, and there's slamming of cups and slamming of hands, and but then there's also the reconciliation at the end. So I think following them through that journey, there's the peaks and the troughs, but you see that conclusion of love at the end, which was really touching. And so I'm excited for everyone to see. So Tamsin is my best friend, which is fantastic, because it was, I knew that she had this idea that she wanted to put on, and I was obviously just in full support. And when she was like, I want you and CJ to do it, I was even more in full support. So I was like, anything you want to do, I'll do with you, because I trust her vision. I know she's amazing at everything she does. And so when we got onto set, there was this incredible split between personal and professional. So we were able to separate the personal and professional and just go straight into professional. And working with her as a director, she was fantastic. She knew what she wanted to do with us. She had the vision for where she wanted it to go. She knew how she wanted the characters to be portrayed, but she still gave us a lot of freedom to feel that raw emotion. And it was almost kind of like, whatever you feel, run with that. If it doesn't work, we can scrap it and do something else. But if it does, then you know you have something amazing. And I'm grateful to her as well, because she trusted us and she trusted me with a vision that was so great, and she trusted me to kind of bring that to life for her. And so I'm praying to God I did her justice. I'm praying I did her justice, because it means more to me that we are so close in our personal lives. But as a director, that's all you'd ever want, really. You want the director to be proud of you and to be like, yeah, what I had in my head, you actually did and you executed on camera. So yeah, man, I'm praying. I'm praying. For this year, I am still waiting, by God's grace, for that lead to come in. And I know it's just that one yes. I know it takes hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of auditions, but then it's that one yes that you get, and then that kind of opens that door for you there. So aside from that, just trying to bridge the gap between here and America as best as I can, because I really would love to do work overseas and explore the options over there. Again, like I was saying, for Black women, just seeing the roles and stuff, and a lot of the TV series that I look up to and I watch and I admire, I would love to be a part of. So if I can in some way bridge that gap and make that happen, then that would be amazing. But yeah, I'm just open to seeing what life and acting has in store for me, and yeah, that's it.